Let me just say to you, you have been a terrific partner for the past 7.5 years, and I just want to say that Quincy's growth, Quincy's development, Quincy's excellence has shown through during your time as mayor, and the city's in wonderful shape, and I look forward to continue to watching you, and the people of Quincy, and the leaders here in Quincy continue to build on that success. Let me say to President DiCiafaro and to the faculty and the staff and the governors, thanks so much for your work on behalf of the students and their families who are here today. And on behalf of the graduates and their families, I want to start by offering my congratulations. But I would also like you to stand, turn around, give a wave or a bow to the folks up in the stands who helped you get here, okay? Like right now. And thank you very much and have a great life. These moments, okay, and they are moments, don't happen by accident. And I am fond of telling my own children that life is a team sport, and I think in some respects, today is a great example of what great teams together can accomplish. And when I thought about what I might say to the students and the graduates and their families, I reflected on my own graduations. And, you know, I don't even remember who spoke at my high school graduation. I remember who spoke, but I don't remember what he said at my college graduation. And I remember who spoke at my grad school graduation, but I don't remember anything about what he said either. Which makes me wonder if I will say anything today that will last beyond the moment in which I actually spit it out of my mouth. So that's very funny. I don't know who said that, but he said if I really wanted you to remember this, I'd be handing out checks. You know, Rob Hale is a great guy and he's a good friend of mine. I am a humble public servant. And you're just going to have to settle for a few words of wisdom. And I'll leave it up to you to decide what the value of those words will be today. But I'm going to start with this, and it's a little bit of a riff on something that the president said. Nobody handed this to you. You earned it. And when you think about the last couple of years and what everybody's been through, you really did do it the hard way. And I'm often fond of remembering what my dad always said to me when I was growing up, which was, nothing worth having is ever easy, son. That's why adversity builds character. And I just want to say to all of you that many of us have hopefully built a lot of character over the last couple of years. And to all of you, I want to say congratulations for graduating after and during a very difficult and challenging time for everybody, not just here, not just in Massachusetts, not just in the country, but across the world. And I really do hope that you never let anybody suggest that this wasn't a work of art in many respects for you to be here today. Now, with respect to what happens next, another one of my family's favorite expressions was, we are all the company we keep. And in many respects, I think when I think about the company I've kept, I've been blessed. I've been married to the same woman for 35 years. I mean, I would not be the person I am today. I would not live the life I've had. I would not have the children that I have. I simply wouldn't have been the kind of person I am now if I hadn't spent the last 35 years with the really remarkable woman who was good enough and had enough of a sense of humor to marry me and put up with me. And I say that simply to make the point that we do get to choose the company we keep. We do get to decide how we're going to relate to the people we meet and the people we know, and how we're going to build relationships and who we're going to build them with. The old joke is true, you can't choose your family, but beyond that, it's totally up to you. And when I think about people that I've managed to surround myself with, the friends I've had, the colleagues I've gotten to know, and the relationships that I've developed, there's just no question that I'm a far better human being because of their presence, their wisdom, their guidance, and in some cases, they're to the side of the head, which the usual commentary is something along the lines of, "What, are you nuts?" And I think in some ways we forget, and I said it earlier, that most things are in fact team-based opportunities. And you get to choose the teams. So just make sure when you think about that, you choose the teams that are going to give you the best chance to be your very best self. The second thing, and this may sound a little funny, there's nothing wrong with trying and failing. You know, Michelangelo once said that the greatest challenge for all of us is not so much in reaching and succeeding, but is reaching high for something beyond our grasp and failing. Now, I ran for governor in 2010 and I lost. It was a very public defeat. You can't run for governor and not have a few people notice. And I spent a lot of time after that race talking to reporters who covered the race, talking to friends of mine who followed the race, talking to people in public life who followed the race, and my basic question to them was, what do you think happened? And I'll boil it all down to a simple, you were a pretty lousy candidate, Charlie. You didn't deserve to win. Now, you hear that enough, and it stings. You know what? It also happened to be true. I went back and I watched all the press conferences. I read the news articles. I watched the debates. Time and time again, when I watched it, I kept thinking to myself, yeah, I really wasn't very good. And I told myself that if I ever did it again, I would learn from that, I would run a different kind of race, and I would make a different kind of case to the voters. Now, when I decided I wanted to do this again, I went and talked to my wife, Lauren, and she said, so, are you okay with the notion that when you die, your obituary could start with Charles Baker, who ran twice for governor of Massachusetts and lost both times, went on to find a cure for 4 kinds of cancer, but would lead with the thing about the losses. You okay with that? And I thought about it and eventually concluded that, yeah, I'm okay with that. It's important enough for me to take the chance that I'll try on this and and fail spectacularly and publicly twice. And I raise that point to simply say that it's okay to take a chance. It's okay to chase an opportunity or a possibility that may not work out if it's important to you. Because in the end, all that's going to matter is whether you felt like you challenged yourself and you chased the things that mattered most. And for me, I got comfortable with the idea that I could be a publicly spectacular failure twice. Didn't work out that way. Worked out a little differently. And I've had this glorious opportunity to serve the people of Massachusetts for the past 7.5 years. But again, that doesn't happen if I wasn't willing to fall on my face again. Abraham Lincoln ran for office numerous times before he got the nomination in the Republican Party in 1860. And he lost every single time. There's so many stories out there of people who find the thing that makes them great, defined in whatever way that works for them. But the story you never read most of the time is the one about the path they took to get there. The path in life is very rarely a straight line. It always comes with ups and downs and bumps and bruises and twists and turns. And that's okay, because in many cases, as I said, that's where growth comes from. The third thing I want to suggest is that you recognize and understand that no matter how bad your day is, I promise you there's somebody out there who's having a worse day than you are. And this job in particular brought this home in ways I never could have expected. The mayor talked about the fact that this is Veterans Memorial Stadium. One of the most difficult things you do as governor of the Commonwealth is you meet the planes that come back from some combat theater somewhere in the world when they bring home a son or daughter of Massachusetts who's died in the line of duty. And you show up at the airport and you meet their family, sad beyond belief and so proud of their family member. And then you wait with them. Their son, their daughter, their brother, their sister, their wife, their spouse, to come home for the last time. Whatever happens, whatever situation you find yourself in, there's always somebody out there playing a tougher hand than yours. And that should help you recognize and understand that there's a path forward and a host of possibilities if you maintain your balance and go for it. And the final thing I want to say is you should always try to be a force for good. And I know that sounds kind of corny, and it is, but I mean it. The mayor talked about the fact that I've tried pretty hard to work with just about everybody, including a lot of people I didn't agree with on a whole variety of issues. Well, my wife and I don't agree on everything. My dad and I don't agree on everything. My mother and I don't agree on everything. Where is it written that every person in America, any person everywhere, is supposed to agree on everything? I've learned more from people I don't agree with on a lot of things than I've learned from a lot of the people I do. Being able to be your best self, being willing to listen and learn from people you don't always agree with, that's the greatest opportunity of all for all of us. My dad was a Republican, my mother was a Democrat. They never voted for the same person. My mom never even acknowledged voting for me. Seriously, she was too sick with Alzheimer's to vote in 2014, but in 2010, when I asked her, she said, honey, it's a secret ballot. But they were married for 60 years. At our dinner table when I was growing up, I have friends who used to come just to watch my parents go back and forth across the table. There's real opportunity in having a receiver that works a lot harder than your transmitter. As my mom used to say, you have 2 ears and 1 mouth for a reason. And it's a good thing to be able to do that. And there's a bigger issue at play here. Democracies demand debate and discussion and a willingness to understand and recognize differences. And these days I worry a lot about whether or not we've forgotten that. John Adams, pretty famous guy from Quincy, founder of the United States of America, one of the great statesmen of the early years of the birth of this nation. He had a pretty chilling thing that he said about the longevity of democracies. He said, remember, democracy never lasts long. It soon wastes, exhausts, and murders itself. There is never a democracy that did not commit suicide. Now, what do you mean by that? He meant that in a free society, it was hard for people, over time, to respect and understand differences. To appreciate the fact that in many cases, the best answers come from many voices, engaged in discussion and debate, and appreciation of more than one point of view, more than one life experience, more than one way of solving a problem. I happen to think that's the only thing that works. But more and more in public life, you run into people who, if they hear something they don't like about something, they just stop listening. Don't do that. Be your best self and listen. You don't have to agree, but if you listen, you may be surprised by what you learn. And one of the reasons I'm optimistic that we will figure this out despite the noise of the present, believe it or not, is a TV show called Ted Lasso. Now, Ted Lasso is about 2 things Americans, generally speaking, don't find that interesting: soccer and kindness. That was a joke. The most interesting thing about that show, though, was a moment when Ted Ted Lasso talked about being judgmental. He said, people who are judgmental don't ask questions. They think they know everything and know everybody, and they make judgments, which means they create giant blind spots for themselves and for others because they don't ask questions. Questions are how we grow. Questions are how we learn. Questions is how you ended up sitting in front of us here today. Because you asked questions. Because you wanted to grow. Because you were curious. Curiosity is the path to success. Being curious about yourself, about your possibilities, about your friends, about your coworkers, about your challenges, about your life circumstances. And asking yourself questions. Do I want to be viewed as the guy who lost running for governor twice for the rest of my life? So be curious. Put this degree to work. Recognize and understand that in life, growth and possibility is about curiosity. It's all those people who make snap judgments and turn off their receiver and don't want to hear it. Recognize and understand that in the end, greatness comes from being open to listen, to being curious, and to recognizing and understanding that your best self is what ultimately will make you happy and bring joy to your friends and to your family and to the core of your existence here on this great place we call America. And with that, I just want to congratulate you once again, to say how thrilled and honored I was to be here today. And I know it's not $1,000, but I hope you take a little something out of that someday might be worth at least a few. Congratulations.